Have the Orlando Magic found the consistency they're looking for? For the first time in a long time, a 48-minute effort against a quality opponent and a return to their standard today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 25th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic put together a 48-minute effort. A 48-minute effort to beat the Los Angeles Lakers and a major breakthrough for the team. A 2-game winning streak. We'll get to how the Magic reclaim their standard and maybe reclaim themselves coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It has been a rough season. Everybody can see it. Everybody can feel it. This is not how things were supposed to go. 34-38 was not the follow-up to last year's breakthrough. And frankly, looking at the talent and looking at the ability level of the Magic's top two players specifically, but of the team as a whole, the frustration of this season is baked into the fact we know this team can play better. Say what you want, say, oh, maybe they overachieved last year, or, these are all things we got to consider. But we know this team can play better. The Magic promised to play to a higher standard, to play to a different level, to be a better team. And yes, they have fallen woefully short. And yes, we will go over all this in the offseason. We'll talk about how to make this team better and all that jazz very, very soon. Within the next month, 2 months, for sure. The question, though, is how do the Magic reclaim themselves? How do the Magic make the most of these final 10 games now remaining in the season? How do the Magic show us that what we saw for a good chunk of this year isn't who they are, isn't what they're about, and that this, what we've seen is the mirage, and what we believe they can be is the truth. The Orlando Magic, and look, it's never going to get to that level. Let's be clear. There's more evidence to suggest they are the 34-38 team they are this year than they were the 47 team they were last year. This year's group is flawed, dangerously flawed, and they've earned the record that they have. That does not mean we cannot expect more from them. That doesn't mean the Magic don't expect more of themselves. That doesn't mean that they're not capable of doing what they did Monday night against the Los Angeles Lakers. That does not mean the Magic can't take that important step, can't be that team. And when they have games like they had Monday night, it shows us what's still possible. It shows us what this team can do. And the question is always becomes, can they do it again and again and again and again? The signs are pointing to that they are figuring it out. They had a strong effort against the Washington Wizards, took care of their business, won that game. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road just a week ago to start their little tailspin. The Magic know they can beat anybody The question every night is whether they will play that way, whether they will play with that intensity, that focus, that attention to detail. And the Magic at points Monday night didn't have that. Let's be clear. They gave up 30 points in the first quarter, another 30 points in the second. They had to fight and scratch and claw against the defense, loading up against their two best players and begging for somebody else to beat them. They fouled for 21 free throws in the first half, put themselves in a hole, gave up offensive rebounds, 14 second chance points on 7 offensive rebounds. They struggled to take advantage of opportunities. They looked like the Magic that we have grown frustrated with all season. And the Lakers started to pull away at the end of the first half. But unlike games like the Rockets or other games where the Magic have lost these kinds of games, Orlando reeled it in. They refocused. They locked back in. They made sure they weren't going to lose. And coming out of the locker room, and the Magic have lost so many games this year, Orlando took it to the metal. They put their foot on the pedal, and they raced past the Lakers. A 34-18 third quarter that included 5 of 9 shooting from 3. Defense that only allowed 7 free throw attempts in the second half. A fourth quarter defensive effort where, the Lakers still got 28 points, but couldn't get closer than 7 or 8 points in the deficit. The Magic finally put together the kind of effort that wins these kind of games. A strong defensive showing. An offense that moved the ball, that made the Lakers pay for loading up the paint. A faster-paced offense that got downhill and got transition points, that made the Lakers pay for poor shot choices and turnovers. The Magic got back to being who they are. The tougher, grittier, more defensive team, and an offensive team that took advantage of their opportunities. An offensive team that was aggressive, that wasn't afraid, that, yes, hit threes. The Magic got back to their standard. They got back to who they are. And that's all the Magic can ask for. That's all they can be. That's all that ultimately matters. Because whether you want to believe it or not, maybe you don't, maybe you do, that Magic team that we believe they could be at the start of the season is still in there. That Magic team from November and December that shocked the league with their effort, energy, intensity, even without Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner, is still in there. The Magic know they can still be the best version of themselves. And so, yes, a lot of things went right, and especially Paolo and Franz. We'll talk about their games coming up here in a minute. A lot of things went right. But the Magic made a lot of things go right. They made the Lakers play Orlando Magic basketball. And that's all it takes sometimes. The Magic feasted on a porous defense and locked down and locked in to get probably the biggest home win since December. To get the Magic's first 2-game win streak since in a month, in more than a month. And now the Magic face the next challenge. The biggest challenge. To do it again. To be consistent. To bring the same effort, energy, intensity, no matter what, to execute at the same level, to play Orlando Magic basketball. Follow their formula to a win. And that challenge comes right away. Tuesday night in Charlotte. The Magic have their work cut out for them, obviously. But a win there makes it a 3-game win streak. And the Magic haven't had one of those since November. Since the second 6-game win streak back at the beginning of the season. Maybe the Magic are starting to play their best basketball. We've seen the 3-point shooting turn in their favor. They're playing with more confidence and pace. Paolo and Franz are superstars, and we'll talk about their games again in a minute. Maybe the Magic are getting back to being who they are, to being who we know they can be. And if that's the case, then the Magic become a much more dangerous team. but we will see what they do Tuesday night. We'll run through the box score before we talk a little bit about Dwight Howard coming home and his Hall of Fame ceremony. We'll get to that coming up here in just a minute. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you use a program like Monarch, you realize very quickly how much you're spending on things you don't necessarily need or spending too much on, like food delivery, and now it allows you to budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps or using an Excel spreadsheet like I do, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Let's run through the final box score and really illustrate how the Magic played the way the way that we expect them to play. Like, again, I want to make this clear. Like, Paolo Banchero actually said it really the best. Winning 2 games in a row means nothing. Like, it means nothing. This is what's expected of them. And just because the Magic haven't been able to do it for a while doesn't mean that it's a time to pause and celebrate. Paolo Banchero said it too, and was not the only player to really say this. The win Monday means nothing if the Magic don't go out and do the same thing Tuesday night in Charlotte. And look, Charlotte is a frisky team. If you're not careful, they'll score a lot of points on you. But the Magic should have an easier time with Charlotte than they did with the Lakers. The Lakers are a trickier team in a lot of ways. The Magic are trying to regain the standard and trying to play to their standard really for the first time. And that is, again, not a cause for celebration. We're not, raising the banners or anything like that. It's acknowledgement that the team is doing what it has to do. So the Orlando Magic defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 118-106. Again, behind a 34-18 third quarter. The Magic's defense struggled early on. A lot of switching, some poor communication early. Really struggled fouling Luka Doncic. He kind of got them off their feet. Did a good job kind of initiating contact, leaning the right way to get foul calls. The Lakers get to the line a lot. They had 28 free throws, 22 for 28. But 21 of them came in the first half. So when the Magic stopped fouling, when they were a little bit more disciplined, when they were a little bit more engaged, a little bit more physical in the right ways and in ways that aren't fouls, that's when the Magic really took over. Orlando, I think, did come to a decision. Luka Doncic was 9 for 23, 4 for 10 from 3, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 32 points. I think the Magic came to a decision. He had most of his points in the first half. I think the Magic came to a decision to trap him a little bit more and get the ball out of his hands in the second half. And they essentially made the bet that the Lakers supporting cast wasn't going to be able to make shots enough, or that the Magic could close out and rotate fast enough if they doubled Luka on drives, forced him to pass the ball, and contested those shot opportunities. The defensive strategy worked. They were much better contesting at the rim. They were much better contesting on threes. They made the Lakers really work and really made Luka work. Luka, I thought, was just way too comfortable in the first half, and some of that was the fouling. The fouling, just the way he's able to initiate contact, the way he's able to draw fouls that way, get you to play hands off, get you to kind of take your hands off and take a step back, and that's where Luka really goes to work. The Magic, I thought, did a really good job defensively on Luka in the second half. Honestly, I thought they did a good job defensively all game. He was just able to kind of find his spots and make his shots. A big reason why the Magic were able to survive kind of another Luka onslaught was because Paolo Banchero, especially early on, was dialed in. He had 30 points, 9 for 17 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, 10 for 12 from the foul line. So again, you compare his numbers to Luka Doncic, they essentially cancel each other out. Same number of free throw makes, same number of field goal makes. Luka made 2 more threes. He added 7 rebounds. Paolo was super aggressive early on. He had 11 points in the first quarter. Just really set the tone, was trying to get downhill, trying to be aggressive, got to his spots. The Lakers were sending extra help over. They were doubling him on drives. They were essentially playing a box and one. They were playing like a strong side zone where they essentially left someone at the block to keep Paolo from getting to the rim. And Paolo made his mid-range jumpers. He's still making those shots really, really well. And essentially that defense is just trying to make Paolo and Franz think about where they're going next. Because Franz Wagner was also very good. Franz at 32 points, 13 for 26 shooting, 3 for 10 from 3. Added 9 assists and 5 rebounds. Franz got the same treatment. And look, early second quarter, when Paolo was out and Franz was in, Franz looked a lot less comfortable with the trapping and the double teams that the Lakers were sending his way. But once he figured it out, once he got to his mid-range, once he got to his floaters, it was lights out. It was game over. And eventually the doubling came, again, the Lakers were essentially like leaving a player on the block to deter any drives, just like setting up double teams. When they were isolated on the floor, they strong side zoned them. They had 2-3 guys all watching Franz and Paolo. Eventually they started moving the ball. They started trusting their teammates and banking on them making threes. And look, this was essentially the Lakers' plan. They were not afraid of the Magic shooting. The difference is the Magic made them pay. Orlando shot 15 for 40 from 3. They had 5 players make more than 2 3-pointers, or make 2 or more 3-pointers in the game. Franz had 3. He was 3 for 10. Paolo had 2. He was 2 for 6. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 9 points, 3 for 6 shooting from 3. Caleb Houston, 2 for 6. He had 8 points. Anthony Black was awesome. 17 points, 7 for 10 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3. Shooting much more confidently. He's shooting better than 40% in March. That's 11 games, so not so insignificant. He's been excellent. He's been more aggressive lately. He's starting to really come into his own and find his spots and find where he works. He closed the game for the Magic. The Magic were not afraid to use him. And AB was essential. Orlando had 20 fast break points. It's their second time this season with 20 or more fast break points in back-to-back games. Orlando was very much trying to pick up the pace, and it's a big thing that they talked about over the last few days just to kind of spark plug this offense. Black was just getting downhill, getting to his spots, and that secondary attacker, especially in transition, is so big for the Magic. It's not just about him, though. AB was competitive defensively, took on the challenge against LeBron a few times, took on the challenge against Luka Doncic. There is just a level of no fear on this team. They were not phased. They were dialed into this game. They were, they had to clean some things up at the half, but they were dialed in for this game. The effort was as great as it's been for a long time. Just like the Cleveland games, just really high effort game. We've talked about a lot of players. I got to shout out Wendell Carter. He ended up with points, 4 for 10 shooting, so not the greatest shooting game. 1 for 3 from 3, big 3 though. 3 for 4 from the line, 8 rebounds. But Wendell Carter was fighting hard defensively. Orlando was switching 1 through 5. They were just LA's a small team. They felt confident they could rebound. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't, but they felt confident they could rebound. They were going to switch 1 through 5 and trust that Wendell Carter could handle a Luka Doncic or LeBron James. LA was happy to make that switch. And Wendell Carter, yes, he fouled him a few times. Yes, he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar a few times. But Wendell Carter was a big body, a physical body. He's not afraid to use his chest defensively. He did an excellent job making Luka Doncic work and slowing him down and tiring him out a little bit toward the end of the game. I know everybody is unhappy with Wendell Carter's shooting stats and aren't thrilled with his offense, and that's fine. He's not been what the Magic need offensively. But since the All-Star break, he has been excellent defensively, except for the Minnesota game and the first Houston game. He has been on point defensively. And this was as good as Carter has played. Carter is playing with a lot more energy. You can feel it from him. Mistakes aren't hurting him as much. They're still hurting, but he is making plays and helping his team win. The Magic shoot 49.4% from floor, 37.5% from three, 15 for 40. So again, they're now, I believe, 18-5 when they shoot 35% or better from three. And again, that's just 35%. So another strong shooting effort for this Magic team. They're going to win games when they make threes this effectively. Orlando made 5 more threes than LA. The Lakers were 10 for 32. So big difference in the game there. Those 5 extra points really matter. The Magic shoot 19 for 23 from the foul line. Only 9 turnovers, but they did lead to 15 points. The Lakers were very good at taking advantage of Magic mistakes. The Lakers had 14 second chance points off 7 offensive rebounds in the first half. They had 11 offensive rebounds for the game, 18 second chance points. Orlando only 11 off their 12 offensive rebounds. So Orlando actually left a lot of points on the board. Very easily could have been a bigger blow up and a bigger lead. Orlando ended up leading by as much as 17 in the third quarter, but very much could have been a much bigger deficit. Orlando was thoroughly the harder working team, thoroughly the better team in a lot of ways, and played better on this day. Look, the Lakers have 2 elite players. Luka Doncic, like I mentioned, 32 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. LeBron James at 24 points, 9 for 18 shooting, 6 or 7 from 3, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Orlando made him work really hard. He's LeBron, though. He kind of bullied his way to the basket. But, definitely still feeling the effects of the injury. I think the Magic definitely took advantage of that. Really not a lot of other scoring. Austin Reeves at 18 on 7 for 16 shooting, but the Magic really victimized him on defense, really picked on him. Small guy, Magic attacked him. If the Lakers were going to switch too, the Magic attacked Austin Reeves, and they really pinned him underneath the basket a few times with Paolo and Franz. Dorian Finney-Smith, a nice game with 14 points, made 4 of his 6 3-pointers, added 7 rebounds as well. The Orlando Magic defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 118-106. The Orlando Magic have now swept the Los Angeles Lakers in the season series for just the 3rd time in franchise history. This was played in front of the largest crowd in the Kia Center for an Orlando Magic game, the largest crowd in Orlando Magic home game history. So really awesome. It was a great environment. A lot of Lakers fans, obviously, but a great environment. Magic fans showed out as well. And the Magic have now won 2 straight games, the first time they've done that since the first game out of the All-Star break when they beat the Atlanta Hawks. After they beat the Charlotte Hornets heading into the All-Star break, guess what? Magic have their first chance at a 3-game win streak since late November. That's the end of the second 6-game win streak when they face the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday. We'll have a complete coverage of that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. The Orlando Magic beat the Los Angeles Lakers 118-106. Monday's game was not just about the Orlando Magic's victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. It was about welcoming one of their own home. Let me talk a little bit about Dwight Howard and his Orlando Magic Hall of Fame induction coming up here in just a moment. There was an elephant in the room. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Everybody kind of acknowledged it. That Dwight Howard's exit from Orlando was really messy. I will still tweet and say positive things about Dwight Howard. I've forgiven. I was extremely happy to see him entered into the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. Steve Francis was in the building. Dwight Howard got Steve Francis in the building, for crying out loud, which I never thought I would see. I talked to some Magic people who were working with the team there, and I was like, how did y'all get Steve Francis to be in the building? And they actually told me Dwight invited him back to Orlando, which is really a wild thing because things did not end well with Steve Francis either. That's my Magic nerddom coming out. I'm a Magic Steve Francis truther. I will not shy away from that. Steve Francis was good on the Magic for at least the first season, at least until Casino Mobley got traded. But nobody was hiding from the potential awkwardness of the day. There are still Magic fans that tell me, no, the Magic should not honor Dwight Howard, that he left this team high and dry and all this and that and that. And I'm just like, guys, time heals all wounds. And 1 year of misery in a league where superstars leave all the time and usually not in the prettiest of ways does not erase what he did for this franchise and what he did and how good he was and how important he is to this team's history. It does not erase any of that. And that deserves to be honored. Dwight Howard is as important as any player in Magic history. But the theme of the day was really about why this place is special and why it means so much to so many people that you wouldn't think it means to. Dwight Howard gave us this analogy as he was delivering his speech to those assembled for the Hall of Fame induction before the game on Monday. Dwight said, someone in his life used to tell him life is like baseball. You start at home, you go around the bases, and that's the thing called life. But at the end of the day, you always come back home. You always come back to your center. And for all the ups and downs, for all the good times, the bad times, the triumphs, the travesties, the frustrations, and the glory, Dwight Howard was always destined to come back to Orlando. He won his championship in the bubble in Orlando. His greatest moments, the bedrock of his soon-to-be basketball Hall of Fame career, was in Orlando. And ultimately, Dwight Howard, for as much as he can grow up, grew up and became a man in Orlando. Grew up professionally as a basketball player in Orlando. Built his legacy in Orlando. And Dwight was very candid, was very forthright, was very emotional in saying he is not who he is without Orlando. Without the connection that he made to this community through this franchise. He is not the basketball player he is without all the teammates and all the coaches, even the ones he didn't always agree with, like Brian Hill, like Stan Van Gundy. He is not the player and person he is today without Orlando, without the Magic. And ultimately, you could tell how much it meant for him to be home. All the old rivalries, all the old frustrations were forgotten, and forgotten quickly because of all the good times and all the moments and memories that were built here. Dwight's perspective, honestly, is refreshing. Because while Shaq, when he came back, and look, everyone has their own deal and their own relationship with things, Shaq, when he came back, would always say it was the greatest mistake that I left. That I was a young knucklehead that I left. And Dwight essentially said the same thing. That he was just a young knucklehead looking for something else, looking for something new when he left Orlando. But Dwight didn't know if he would be able to come back to this place. I don't think he ever truly knew. He wanted it. I think he really wanted it. And to be back with teammates last year when Stan Van Gundy's wife passed away, to reconnect with those roots, to come back for Game 6 during the playoff series and to feel the crowd and feel some love as well. I think all of that meant a lot to him. He wanted to come home as much as the Magic were ready to welcome him home as well, to honor him for all that he has done. And yeah, well, I think Shaq, when he spoke about his departure, speaks about it with regret. But, frankly, with Shaq, sometimes you're not always sure what's for show and what's not. And it's nothing against Shaq. Shaq is Shaq. Dwight Howard did not run, did not hide from the bad times. In fact, he said those bad times made Orlando part of who he is too. Made the Magic part of who he is too. The fact that the good times outweigh the bad, that's what family is about. That's what unconditional love is about. That even when things go wrong, even when you have a falling out, you still come back home. Dwight Howard has finally come back home. And when he was introduced in front of the crowd as the latest member of the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame between the first and second quarter of Monday's game, he got a rousing ovation. He got the ovation that he deserves. Ironically, not just from Magic fans, but from Lakers fans too. It does prove that you can indeed go home again. That home is a place where you belong, that will love you unconditionally. May get upset at you, may be frustrated with you, but will love you. And it was good to see Dwight Howard feel that love again in Orlando. To feel all of that back where his basketball career took off and began. This will not be the last time we honor Dwight Howard. He will be heading into the Naismith Hall of Fame here, most likely this season. The class will be announced at the Final Four in April. In a few years, 5, 6 years, whenever it is, his number 12 should be hanging in the rafters at the Kia Center. And I know that will get the same questionable comments. This segment will get comments saying, no, we're not ready to welcome Dwight back that way. But I'm telling you, you are. Because Dwight belongs to us as Magic fans. He is ours. And this is his home. And Dwight got to come home Monday night. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all Philly Style podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to see if the Magic can carry forward the momentum and beat the Charlotte Hornets for their third straight win. Until then, though, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.